Hello and welcome to the video about political system of the United Kingdom, which is a part of a larger maturity question, political systems. Since this is quite a complicated and complex question, we are going to discuss only the basics and omit quite a lot of important information. United Kingdom is a unitary parliamentary democracy and also a constitutional monarchy. This means that the head of state is the king or the queen, as it is at this moment. But the United Kingdom is governed by elected officials. The UK as a country consists of four constituents or four constituent countries: England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. It is a very interesting fact that the UK does not have a codified constitution. Constitution is considered to be the cornerstone of a democracy, so it is quite fascinating that the UK doesn't have one. That is to say, there is no codified or written constitution as such, but a constitution exists because it is composed of several individual elements, written and unwritten, in the course of history of England and the United Kingdom. The basic principles of this country are sovereignty of the parliament, the rule of law, and democracy. The parliament, the United Kingdom, is composed of two houses: the House of Commons, which has a similar role to the Chamber of Deputies, which we have in the Czech Republic, and House of Lords, which is somehow similar to the Senate, which we have in the Czech Republic. The seat of the British Parliament is the Palace of Westminster, or so-called Houses of Parliament, which is also probably the most famous building in the United Kingdom and definitely one of the most famous buildings in the whole world. The House of Commons consists of 650 MPs, which stands for Members of Parliament, and its task is to debate political issues of the day and propose new legislation. That is to say, it has many tasks, but these are probably the most important. Its members are elected to represent constituencies, which means parts of the UK in which people have voted for these members. A special role in the Parliament is given to the Speaker. The Speaker is an MP who presides over the House's debates, determines which members may speak, and which amendments are selected for consideration. If an MP is misbehaving, it is the role of the Speaker to ask this MP to leave the House. The Speaker is strictly non-partisan, which means that when an MP is chosen to be the Speaker, he has to leave his political party behind. The last Speaker of the House of Commons was John Bercow, and please see the description for some links to videos about this quite legendary speaker. The House of Lords is the second chamber of the Parliament, and its task is to amend and shape the laws that have passed through the House of Commons. Let me one more time stress that it is similar in this way to the Senate, which we have in the Czech Republic, but the choice of members of the House of Lords is quite different. In the description, you will find a video explaining how this process works. Now let us move to the executive branch of the government, which consists mainly of the cabinet. Whenever a political party wins the election to the House of Commons, the leader of the party becomes the next prime minister, and members of the winning party or parties become government ministers, helping the PM to run the country. Most important ministers include, for example, the Secretary of the State, Secretary of Education, or Secretary of Finance. The cabinet as a whole, but also individual members, are all answerable to the Parliament. Prime Minister is the head of the government, and he quite famously lives at number 10 Downing Street, quite close to the House of Parliament in the city of Westminster. The current PM is Boris Johnson from the Conservative Party, who became PM after Theresa May resigned in 2019. Boris Johnson is currently still in charge of Brexit, that is, in charge of the process of the UK leaving the European Union, and generally he has quite a good talent for comedy. Please see the description for more. The head of the state is the monarch, that is to say, the king or the queen. At the time of recording this video, at the beginning of 2021, the current queen is Elizabeth II, who was crowned in 1952 after her father, George VI, passed away. This means that Elizabeth II has been the longest reigning monarch in the history of this state. And since the times of Henry VIII, the monarch is also the supreme governor of the Church of England. The monarch plays a very important part in the state. She represents the United Kingdom abroad. She is a strong symbol of unity for the people, and monarchy and royal family is still considered to be an important part of the identity of the British. Apart from the Queen, there is also the royal family, Queen's husband, Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh, who has passed in 2021, Queen's son, Charles, the Prince of Wales, and Queen's grandchildren, Prince William and Prince Henry. Now let us move to the political parties in the United Kingdom. Even though we have several political parties, we will focus on two most popular. Conservative Party, sometimes called the Tories or the Conservatives, are a center-right political party which was founded in 1834. Formerly, this party had different policies than it has nowadays. However, it is still ideologically conservative, which means sticking to what works and not making any major changes. And since the 1980s, liberal economic policies have been also typical for this party. It is quite interesting that the last three prime ministers has been Conservatives: David Cameron, Theresa May, and Boris Johnson, sometimes also called Brexit PMs. I have chosen two probably most famous Conservative PMs or Prime Ministers, Winston Churchill and Margaret Thatcher. Labour Party, or simply Labour, was founded in 1900. It is a centre-left political party, and we may say that its ideology is that of a social democracy. Labour changed a bit in the 1990s with so-called New Labour project. During this project, Labour PMs, especially Tony Blair, endorsed or accepted market economics and liberal economic policies. The current leader of Labour Party is Keir Hardie. I have already mentioned Tony Blair, New Labour PM, who has been quite successful but also controversial because of the UK's involvement in the war of Iraq. And on the right you can see Gordon Brown, his successor. And that is it. At the end, let me give you some short summary. The United Kingdom is a unitary parliamentary democracy and a constitutional monarchy. A very important part of the political system is the Parliament of the United Kingdom, and it is composed of two chambers, House of Commons and House of Lords. The head of state is currently the Queen, Elizabeth II, and the head of the government is the Prime Minister, currently Boris Johnson from the Conservative Party. There are two major political parties in the United Kingdom, the Conservatives and Labour Party. I hope that you have enjoyed, at least partly, this short video about the political system of the United Kingdom, but rest assured that there are so many other things or topics you can focus on. So, for example, if you would enjoy talking about Brexit, which is still very relevant today, feel free to focus on this very subject.